Welcome to Cool2Craft. I'm Tiffany Windsor.
And I'm Heidi Borchers.
Today's show is all about prints and patterns.
It's absolutely amazing how many different things you can do with prints and patterns. I have a super easy way to make a stamp. We've been using it for years and years, just simply using craft foam and foam core.
Candace Jedrowitz is transforming a plain white coffee cup clock with fabulous print fabric.
And what are you doing?
I am creating a goddess. This has textured print.
Very cool.
Don't go away, we'll be right back. Prints and patterns. Do you know how I came up with the idea for today's show?
I don't.
I was organizing Heidi's fabrics, and you know me, I want a box for red and a box for blue and a box for green. And
I just had them all piled in one box.
And I got to the point where I started identifying them by polka dot, paisley, checked. And I thought, oh my gosh, let's do a whole show on prints and patterns.
It's really cool, but if you think about it, I mean, it's really endless. It just goes on and on and on. And what I really love is how different our projects are from the simple to more ornate. It's really cool because it just goes and goes and goes.
Well, my first idea was to do a project with paisley.
Me too.
Oh, really? And none of us did anything in paisley. Well, how did that happen?
Well, paisley's it's so popular. You see it in everything. I thought, because I'm showing you how to do some easy stamp, rubber stamping, this easy way to do it, I thought, oh, well, paisley, yeah, I'll print my own paisley. And I started to draw out my design. I'm like, well, it's an easy process, but if somebody wanted to do this design, it's really hard to cut out. So I didn't want to make it look hard. I mean, you still could do it with the paisley, but I didn't want it to look hard, so I went easy. I went with hard, so I went with the simple.
So start with an easy pattern first.
Yes.
And so you're going to show us how to create.
I am. This process, I've been actually doing this technique probably for 30 plus years. Years ago, too, there are a lot of companies came out with the foam stamps, and I still have been using this one because you can individualize it for yourself, make your own patterns. It's so simple. To make my stamps today, I'm using the Aleene's Turbo Tacky Glue. It's available in the Aleene's Tacky Pack. This is a great way to try new sizes of the Aleene's glues, and the Aleene's Turbo Tacky Glue is stronger, it dries faster, and the drying time, it saves you up to 50%. So this is great for this project. I'm also using some craft foam. Now, craft foam comes in many different colors. It does not matter what color you use because we're going to paint over it. And also we're using a foam board that's about a quarter inch thick. First thing you need to do is to cut out your pattern. So you're going to draw your pattern onto the craft foam, and just with scissors. And then we're going to use the Aleene's Turbo Tacky Glue to glue it on. And make sure you get it to all the edges. And turn it over and put it onto your foam board. You're going to set that aside to dry. And while that's drying, we're going to decide what you want to print it onto. Now, you can use paper towels, you can use dryer sheets, paper bags. Just think of fun things to print on. Also, what if you spritz color onto it? If you use a fabric spritzer paint, you can colorize and do a color background instead of doing white. And we are ready to print. Now I've got some other ones that I have made here, so I want to play with those too. I just did some lines of the craft foam, and you can see I've already used this for my project. Also, I did just a background, so I thought it would be fun to print this first, and then we'll print the heart. Now you can use a facial sponge and just apply it. Make sure you get all the edges. Now remember, this was also glued on with the Aleene's Turbo Tacky glue. Turn it over and print onto a piece of paper towel. And for me, it's okay if it doesn't print. I like it like that. But if you want it to be a solid print, just redo it and just line it up and put it on again. Now, if you don't want to use a facial sponge, you can also use a brush. It's funny too, because after you do one print, I find that it works a lot better. So that first print doesn't always, it's almost like you condition it the first print. And we're going to turn it over and print it. Super, super simple. Now I want to show you when you go to do lettering, you want to do it the opposite way. So when you go to print it, it prints perfectly. Here's some other pieces that I did with paper towels, the dryer sheets, and I used this piece here with the heart. Here's another dryer sheet, and you can see that I spritzed this one first for the pink background, then put the purple on it, and this one I did a double of this striped background, and I'll show you how I use these. Here's my lettering. This is the one that I did here, just printed it like that. Now, sometimes you'll find that it doesn't always print exactly as dark as you want. So what I did here is I took and outlined it with just dots from a toothpick. And here is paper towel and the print, and then all the rest of it, it was just some hand painted tissue paper. How cool is that? Think about all the different projects you can do using the Aleene's Turbo Tacky glue and just a few other supplies.
You know that the heart design is one of my favorite patterns.
Well, I think it's everyone's favorite, and again, there's so much you can do with it that it's just, and you can use it for any time of the year. It used to be hearts were only at Valentine's Day.
Oh, no, no, no. You can use them all year.
So I didn't get to show what I actually used it into, and I used it to make a journal. And this is just a really inexpensive one of those journals that you can get for $1. And
it's a composition notebook.
I didn't finish the back yet.
No, that's so I could show them that. We planned that, right, Heidi?
So you can see my journal, the lettering, and you can see my heart pattern. So this is what I made. I couldn't just sit there and stamp on stuff and not show you what I actually made out of it.
But you could take each of the paper towel designs or the fabric softener designs. You can use them in a lot of different ways besides a journal.
Oh,
I can
totally.
put them on one of my girlfriend gift boxes. You can do all sorts of things with these.
With these stamps, remember that you love to print on wood boxes. You can do the same thing with this and paint, because we're using the acrylic paint. Tiffany always does her boxes with rubber stamps and acrylic paint.
So now I can actually customize the exact shape that I want and the size that I want. If I don't, I have hundreds of rubber stamps, but sometimes.
So you forgot about this technique too.
Right, and what's great about this is, as you mentioned, it's it's perfect for very simple designs. Which you could also do, I'm assuming, tell me if this is right. Can you actually emboss into this?
You can.
So do you have to like heat up the end of you heat it up with the heat gun? And then use your embossing tool.
Right.
So if I wanted to add designs into that.
Another thing you can do is you can use punches. Use like paper punches to get like holes in it. And you can, you know, if you want, even with kids, let's say you want to do with kids. A lot of the craft stores have little tiny the shapes that are craft foam. You can do the same thing with that.
All right. I think I need to go craft now. Oh, wait. We have more show to go.
I think Candace did a really cool project too.
Candace J's interpretation of today's Prints and Patterns show is about printed fabric. And so she's transforming just a plain surface with fabric.
Hi, Candace.
Hello, ladies, and hi, everyone. Welcome back to my studio of what? Perpetual Mojo. That's right. We're doing patterns today, and I have a favorite fabric and a favorite clock, and we're going to do some mixing up. Sit back and relax. It's happening right now. This is my favorite studio clock. I love that it's a coffee cup. I'm just not crazy about it being white. So I need to add a little bit of color to it. And since we're doing patterns, I got this fabric out. This has to be my most favorite patterned fabric ever. Look at those gorgeous colors and swirly patterns. So I made a rough outline of the clock with brown paper, and I think I'm going to cut actually even a little bit further out from the outline. You can see that this is the actual outline, but I want to make sure that I can wrap the fabric all the way around to the back. So I'm going to cut leaving an extra inch or so. I've penciled in the center hole, and of course I'm going to the inside of it because I can always take more off. So I'm just going to start that by snipping a little bit. And then I'm going to follow my mark. Now let's see how it looks on our clock. I've left myself a 1/4 inch margin here that I can snip into and tuck down in around the clock face. And now I'm ready to start putting some glue on this fabric and wrapping it. I've got my Aleene's flexible stretchable fabric glue that I'm going to use, and I'm just going to start by squishing out some around the fabric, and then I'm going to spread it out with a brush. I'm going to spread it toward the center. I want to make sure that each of the center snip pieces has the glue on it. Here's our clock, and let me find the way this goes here. I'm going to group it around the center. I want to make sure that my stripes are vertical. And if they aren't, it's not a great big deal, but I would prefer that they be vertical. Now I'm going to take a small screwdriver and I'm going to push my glued fabric pieces down in to the gap. It's a really good idea to try this before you add the glue, just to make sure it's going to fit. Here you can see I've blackened the rim and I've put it back in And before I put the handle back on, I'm going to go around the edges and paint black. A lot of the plastic is showing, and I don't want that. I want it to have a nice edge. And I do want to come up right to the edge. I think that that's going to look really nice. Now that the paint is dry, I'm going to use just a touch of Aleene's original tacky glue to put the handle back on. Oh, that is so cute. I don't know if you can tell, but I did a little bit of black right around the bottom of the cup to delineate the saucer from the cup. Cute. Oh my goodness. I love that clock. I am in love with that clock. I'm going to be down here in the middle of the night watching it. Okay, I'm probably not going to do that, no. But I do hope that you were inspired to try something like it, and I hope that when you do, I'll get to see it. Email me, Candace@Cool2Craft.com, with your story and some high-resolution photos so I can share them on our website. Stay crafty, my friends. Back to you, ladies.
So Candace really captured the essence of what inspired me to come up with the theme for the show, because it was working with your fabrics, trying to organize Heidi in her studio.
Never gonna
I took
happen.
the fabrics out of her studio, put them in my studio, so she has to come in here. I know that's only just a fraction of your fabrics.
Yes, it is.
But Candace really has taken the essence of what today's show is, and we were talking about what fabrics do to inspire us.
Well, I think fabrics are a huge part of, well, they're a huge part of our everyday living for anybody. I mean, with what we use fabrics in all of our home decor and our clothes and everything. But so they truly do inspire us, the different fabrics and the prints and everything. And think about all those wonderful people that actually design all the fabrics.
Oh my gosh, you've always wanted to do that.
Well, I did at one time. I designed a whole line. In fact, I was thinking about that the other day. I need to go in my file and bring it out.
Still have some of that?
Yeah.
And what were the themes? What
It
were
was
the
angels.
prints and patterns?
It was angels.
Oh, okay.
It was little angels that were kind of dancing on the fabrics. And but I also remember I did the fairies recently in another project, and the teapots that I did. So I was thinking about doing something with that, with fabric.
Right. So
On
pretty,
my list of things to do.
pretty cool to see all the things that we can do with prints and patterns. Well, I was inspired by today's project. We talked a little while ago that I thought I was going to do something paisley because I wanted something very intricate, but like Heidi said, I didn't want to draw it out myself. Well, what came to me, this brilliant stroke of creative genius, was that my dear friend Juliana Hudgens has just designed these new dies for spellbinders.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can see in this goddess design that she did all the work for me.
Yes.
So she's doing prints and patterns already for you in this new spellbinders die. So I created, well, a whole bunch of goddesses. For my project, I am using Juliana Hudgens' new goddess dies. You can see their beautiful body shapes. There's the prints and the patterns that I'm looking for today's theme. I am using the Grand Caliber machine to cut all of my pieces with these dies. Because I am using the soda cans from Eco Heidi's soda can collection, I'm using the smaller die. The soda cans are not quite large enough to be able to fit the large die, and so this small goddess body shape is just perfect. The first thing that you want to do is to cut the soda can apart so that you have a piece that you can flatten out. What you need to do is gently roll it in the opposite direction to try and coax it to lay flat. They do have a memory of their own, so it's a little bit harder to get them to lay out flat. You can see it's almost flat, but that's perfect. When it comes time to cut your design, what you want to do is lay, you can see this is where the actual cut line is. We're going to lay that face down on the right side of our design. So the right side in this case is the silver side of the soda can. So you're going to place this down and then run this through the Spellbinders Grand Caliber with your cutting pad. Then once you put it through the cutting, you are going to put it back through and emboss it with the embossing pads. And that's what we have right here. So I cut this first. You can see that here's my soda can that's been cut. Then I put it back through with the embossing plates and pad, and you can see the design has picked up here. So what you want to do is just press this out up here. And there's that beautiful body shape with my patterns. If I wanted to add more texturing to this, I would just use an embossing stylus, one of those ballpoint stylus, and then you would lay this onto, say, a piece of craft foam, and that you could draw in more designs if you'd like to. I think this is just perfect. What you want to do next is decide where you want to put your colors. I use the Jacquard Pinata alcohol inks. They are really bright. I like to use a cosmetic sponge for each of the colors, so I just cut my sponge apart, put it onto a paper towel because you're going to have a lot of color. So this is the chili pepper and lime green. And as you can see, I have just squeezed it right on. You can dab this. I like just pressing and dabbing this. You could pull it if you wanted to. That gives you a completely different look. But I just start adding the color, spreading the color, and then I'm keeping this one for that red. So I want to grab another cosmetic sponge for the green. Let's add some Baja Blue and a little bit of purple. There you can see the really bright and beautiful colors. And you can also see the pattern that remains after you add your alcohol inks. The next thing I like to do is use my Pinata Color Extender. And when you spray this on, it's going to shift the color a little bit. So that adds just one more dimension of texture to that color. So you're going to want to let this set aside to dry completely, but while this piece is drying, you can work on your other shapes. Some of the other shapes in Juliana's collection are stones. These are perfect to use in between your goddess shapes. If you are creating hanging pieces, it's great to use these as spacers in between. So I've done the same thing with these. I've cut them on my Grand Caliber, and then I embossed them, and now they are ready to color. A little bit of color goes a long ways. So I'm going to keep going and applying my magenta. You can see it gets a little bit lighter than what I had on the first piece. And And you can also see that when I put these through the embossing, that it left a pattern on the soda can. So finish coloring all of the extra pieces that you want to use as spacers between your goddess body. And the next step I want to show you is how I punch these to get them ready for hanging. Before I punch and assemble my goddess, I want to show you how I created the head and the face. For this piece, I only used the option of embossing. So this is the swirl design that I embossed into the soda can. And what that does is it gives me a really nice pattern in the soda can without cutting it out completely. So you have to be very careful to gently pull it out. Then what I can do is I can take my scissors and cut around the design to the shape of the head. And I leave extra because we're going to put jump rings in there to add some wire. But I just wanted to let you know you might want to experiment just a little bit to use only the embossing option rather than cutting all the way through. So that's what I did for the head, and actually for some of the other pieces. I did the same thing on the hands where I used only embossing, and then you can cut out around in whatever shape that you want. The same thing for the crown on my goddess's head. I only used the embossing plates. To create the rings that I use to assemble all my pieces, you take your craft wire, just roll it around. I have a pencil here, whatever tool that you have that would be the size of the rings that you want. And this is probably a 24 gauge wire. So you run it around, and then I don't cut every single loop. I actually want these to go twice into my holes. So you'll notice that I'm cutting every other loop. So continue to cut enough of these so that you can use them to assemble your pieces together. I also take other colors of wire, and I use my round nose pliers to actually loop them around, swirl them around. Let's see if I can get this to where you can see it. There you go. And swirl it around to create extra hair for her. So you'll want to create those pieces also as it comes time to assemble her. So to punch your holes, I just use my small punch and punch right in close to the edge, but without getting too close. But you want to make sure that your rings are going to be the right size. So on the body, I'm just punching top and bottom. And on the head, you can see I did lots of punches, top and bottom, and then extra holes on the side to put in her wire hair. And it's so easy to just loop these right in, bring them all the way through so that they don't come back off. So I have now this jump ring on the head, and then I will do the same thing on the body. And continue to add your jump rings to put all of your pieces together. And I also use these then for her hair. Get the end of that to go down in there so I can make sure that I can get it all the way through the two pieces. Perfect. So I'm going to continue to add my jump rings to put my pieces together. Let me show you my progress. I've used my jump rings to connect the crown to the head. I used the spiral die in the embossing plate only because I didn't want it to cut out all the way. That's for the face and the head. We have our beautiful goddess body with all of the patterning. And then I used the stone shape, the heart, and the kite. So I joined all of those together. To finish off her hair, these are the wire pieces that I showed you. And I just slip them through the hole and then bring the end up through the next hole. And we're going to cut this a little bit shorter. And then I use my round pliers to create another swirl. And then use my fingers to finish it off. I like to give them wild hair. And just keep adding wire through each of the holes to finish off her hair. If you'd like to do more embellishing, you can add rhinestones and jewels to any piece in this collection. And if you're like me, you won't want to stop with just one. As you can see, I put a whole collection of goddesses and the treasure pieces and the stone pieces. I joined them all together for a fun piece of wall art.
Okay, so I want to ask you a question.
There's the table turn. Okay.
What inspired you to do it on that?
My sister Yiko Heidi inspired me because you did the fish sculpture.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first saw it, I went gaga over it.
Right, because I did the little pins first, which we never even showed.
Right.
You know what? Let's show those on Almost
Those
Dailies.
dailies
Yeah, the
this
little
week.
fish. Yeah.
She, Heidi did the big sculpture from soda cans, and you used your embossing stylus, which has the little ball point on the end, and you put your prints and patterns into it.
Right.
So when I was helping her clean up her table, there was this little tiny cute little fish pin, and I loved it.
Yeah. And that was so funny because then she just went, okay, where's the soda cans? Do you have them already cut?
Right, because I said, oh my gosh, I have to use Juliana's new Spellbinders dies, and then I went, okay, what's the largest size of soda can that you have? Because this is the largest die.
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't use it with the soda cans, but you can certainly use it with other fabric.
I have a new can, and I'm wondering, we never looked at that new can to see if it would fit.
Yeah, we have to figure out,
Yeah.
does that go around? And so, like a mad woman, a mad scientist, I was
A mad goddess.
Yeah, I was empowered. I took in the goddess energy. And then I grabbed my new pinata inks. And it's like every step it was wow, wow, wow. And Heidi said, do you want to try this? Do you want to try that? And so
cool?
it all came together for me. And so this is going to go on a whole collection on a wall. And so
Cool.
That's how I was inspired. And when you craft every day in your design studio, there's some projects that just seem to feed your energy more.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those projects, from the shape of the goddess to the colors of the inks and pulling it all together. It's so empowering, and that's exactly the message that Juliana wanted from her dies, to help empower women. And there's so many different ways that you can take this die and translate it into more of a mannequin shape. You can do paper dolls. You can use it like I did. There's many different ways.
I love it. I love the colors. Beautiful colors. So, wow.
Once again, wow. Quite a show with prints and patterns, and you can tell that has really inspired us. We hope that you'll go out and try some prints and patterns, and let's go ahead and do a recap.
I did the super simple stamp where you take foam core and craft foam and make your own stamp. You can make it very, very simple, or you can go very, very intricate. It depends on how much you want to cut and shape, and maybe even die cut, whatever. And lots of fun. Lots of fun.
And Candace Jedrowitz has used a fabulous print fabric in the rich colors of bronze and gold and pink, and she covered a plain white coffee cup shaped clock for her studio.
Very cool.
Very, very cool. And I have used Juliana Hudgens' new Goddess dies. These are available through Spell Binders. And I've created a whole collection of goddesses. And they're empowered.
Out of soda cans, too.
Soda
So
cans
she's eco
inspired
today.
by Eco Heidi and my dear friend Juliana. And this has been a fun collection of prints and patterns. And we've all taken our interpretation in completely different ways. I went the really easy route because the print and design and the pattern and the embossing was already in the die.
And I went the easy one, but you could go more. I mean, both with yours, you could add to it, too.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Absolutely. So we want to invite all of you to join us at Facebook. That's facebook.com/Cool2Craft. And what will they find there?
They will find all kinds of things of what we're up to every week, every day. We let you know. And don't forget that you can also visit us on Cool2Craft.com, and that's where a lot of our tutorials are. Well, all of our tutorials. And you can also find videos there. Our show every week runs 24/7, and every week on Monday there's a new show. And don't forget to sign up for our newsletter. I can't believe that you haven't. You must be new if you haven't signed up for our newsletter, because it comes to you every twice a week. There's a newsletter that comes with all the tutorials and all the things that we're doing, and we do so much.
We do. It's a great way if you watch the show on Monday to have right into your email inbox on Tuesday. You get all of the links to all of the projects that we show
And
on
more.
the Monday show. Plus, yes.
She does a ton of work to put that
I do
together.
a lot of research for that to pull together themes. And so on Tuesday's newsletter of this week, there's going to be prints and patterns, and we're going to see what else our creative girlfriends have made that feature prints and patterns.
And don't forget, but when you're on the Cool2Craft.com page and you sign up for the newsletter, you also need to sign up for the Almost Dailies newsletter, because it comes out almost daily, not really daily, but once in a while daily.
And as we mentioned earlier in the show, I'm going to share Heidi's little fish pin that she embossed with a really neat pattern.
And the soda cans, yes.
Right, in soda cans, and it was part of the sculpture series that she was doing, but we haven't shared that yet.
No.
Thank you so much for sharing your prints and patterns
Thank you.
today.
It was fun.
And we would like to invite you to get creative
Get inspired.
and be cool.
Bye-bye.